New York industrial development agencies, or IDAs, grant tax breaks as an economic incentive to grow business in specific localities. But a study by the National Corporate and Government Accountability Watchdog, Good Jobs First, found those incentives can cost local school districts a lot of money. According to that study, Dunkirk City Schools lost $4.8 million in 2021, or roughly $2,400 per student. And the Letchworth Central School District lost $2.4 million, or $2,700 per student. The total across New York State was $1.8 billion. The report recommends that no state or local agency or government body besides a school board should be allowed to abate school tax revenues. That's the goal of legislation introduced by State Senator Sean Ryan. Senator Ryan joins us live now in studio. Now, the session wraps up Thursday, so how hopeful are you that this is going to get out of committee and go to a full vote?
Pushing hard at this point, but you're up against it because the IDAs have been giving out money this way in New York State for a generation. And a lot of companies are used to coming up to that trough and taking taxpayer dollars. And this report, it really opened my eyes as to how much money was being taken from school districts. You know, we often hear about these economic development plans and we think of them as being funded by the state. But the sort of dirty secret is they're getting taken out of budget money that's supposed to go to school districts. And we just have to take that off the table. You should not be able to take school money and use that to incentivize businesses.
The New York State Economic Development Council, which opposes your bill, said it was, quote, categorically untrue to assume that projects that got tax breaks would occur if support and incentives from the IDA were not available. So how do you respond to your opposition?
Sure. It'd be two things. One is that group is funded 100% by IDAs. So it's the IDAs put money together and they buy themselves a lobbyist and give them a name that sounds innocuous. But you know, his job is to further promote IDAs, not New York State and not school kids. And there is like a half a truth of, well, would this project have occurred if we didn't give them the tax breaks?
Right. Would they go somewhere else, for instance? Yeah.
But what we see all around the state is businesses are occurring every day without tax breaks. You know, there's things happening and that have no tax breaks attached to it. But if you're sort of in the know and you realize there's a way to sort of game the system, I mean, all over New York State, people open warehouses. But Hamburg goes and gives Amazon millions of dollars of tax breaks to open an Amazon right there on Route 5. Well, there's all sorts of distribution companies in New York State that are happening that pay taxes. So if you go pick one out and say, yeah, move here, then you don't have to pay Frontier school taxes and the kids in Frontier suffer. That's just not the way to do business.
And we did talk with a local school district superintendent who pointed out that most of the tax breaks expire within 10 years.
Yeah, they're 10 years.
So they expire. Do you think that if that's temporary, that would be okay if a bunch of jobs are created? Is there a balance that can be happening there?
This is the eternal struggle, right? It's the balance. So the comptroller year after year puts out a report of all the IDAs and that more jobs are lost than created at IDAs. So a lot of times companies come here for the 10 years. And the minute the tax break's done, they go down the thruway and have Rochester give them a tax break. So they're not really sticking into New York State. If it was coupled with large investments by the company and we think, oh, they're really gonna stay, they're gonna stay put here. But by and large, you know, they don't. As soon as the tax breaks leave, they leave and they go somewhere else and get a new one. So there's definitely times when IDAs should be used, but who would ever say it was a good idea for the Niagara County IDA to give a tax break to open a Moe's taco place or an A&W root beer? My Lord, there's sub shop owners all over Western New York who take their investment money, their family income, and they make a go of it, and they pay their taxes.
And they're not getting tax breaks.
They're not getting, they're paying their taxes,
Yeah.
and they got to pay a little bit more because Moe's and A&W root beer are paying zero for 10 years. It's not fair.
If you don't get this bill pushed through, what's your plan?
Right.
Try again next year?
Yeah, we're going to come back again next year. You know, year after year, we have to take back some of the loopholes that the IDAs are creating. But right now, I'm pretty certain that the Dunkirk School District, if you said, you know, would you like $4.8 million? they would say, yes, we would like that. You know, we're an underprivileged school district, we're poor, and the last thing we should be doing is giving tax dollars away to, I think it was solar energy companies. Because after all, that company signed a contract with New York that New York would buy their power for a certain amount of money, and that was supposed to be the deal.
So they were going to come to the state anyways.
That's exactly right. But the IDAs sometimes just can't help themselves because they get a cut of that money.
We're going to change topics now.
Let's do it.
I'm going to ask you about the AKG Art Museum. It opens in 10 days. You secured some grant money. How important is that museum going to be to the economy of our whole region?
The AKG is going to be a shining jewel. You know, we loved it before they went into their renovation and expansion, but I've got a couple sneak peeks inside. It is going to be something that's wonderful, and it's really going to serve the community. Whole area of the art museum that is going to be open to the public for no charge. You'll be able to walk straight through from Elmwood Avenue back into Delaware Park. It's going to be a great place to gather in the wintertime. And if you want to go into the museum, then you have to pay. But there's going to be a lot of activities between art lessons and community gatherings that are just going to start using that museum more as the community asset that it really is. But it's really good looking.
All right, we look forward to it. State Senator Sean Ryan, thank you for joining us tonight.
Great to see you. Thanks for having me on.